What's going on, guys and gals? Kendall here with Renos for Pros and Joes, back with the next installment of the Master Bathroom Remodeling Series. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to install a mirror with a French cleat. A French cleat is an alternative to using the traditional method of the metal hanging wire. The French cleat, in my opinion, works a little bit better in many instances because it's easier to pick your location point on the wall. It's easier to install the hardware and get everything leveled up. And once you have everything installed, it's actually easier to hang it on the wall. If you've ever installed a mirror or a picture frame that's larger in size, that has a longer wire, and you're trying to locate the wire or hook it over the wall mount blindly, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So you don't have to worry about that with this. And additionally, once you've got this type of setup installed on a picture frame or mirror, you won't have the gap on the back side at the bottom, if you know what I'm talking about. So the first thing I'm going to be doing here, now that I've gotten the thing dry fitted on the wall to just kind of get an eyeball of where I want it height-wise, I'm going to make sure that my hardware will fit on the picture frame that I'm going to be using. Well, this is a mirror, but it's still the same thing, the frame of the mirror. And so now that I've did a quick location on that, I'm going to go ahead and take some measurements on my wall, and I'm going to first mark my center point on my wall. I've got my vanity light up here, and it's pretty much dead on in center, but I want to triple check everything before I begin, and I want to go ahead and mark that location on my wall. What I'm holding right there is my bracket, and the bracket that I'm going to be using does not have holes that are centered from left to right, so they're staggered, and so I have to actually take a measurement of everything and mark everything off, including on my bracket, to make sure that everything is in the proper location. So that's what I'm doing now, and I'm also checking my width of this wall in several different points here. I've also got my bullet level out here to make sure that I've got everything located to my satisfaction. Before we go too much further, let me show you exactly what these two pieces look like and how all of these things fit together. So it's essentially two strips of rigid metal, as you see here, I'm holding them, and when they are clicked together on top of each other, they create a very strong connection. And this type of connection can be suitable for holding up several hundred pounds of weight for a picture frame or a mirror. So this is more than enough for the size of the item that I'm going to be installing today. The first thing I'm going to be doing here is going to be trying to make sure that I've got this thing along the center line, and I'm kind of locating right here to make sure that I have a large enough gap between the top edge of the frame and where the actual mirror starts. Now, this particular mirror has several pieces that make up the mirror, and so it's not quite as easy to determine exactly where the start and stopping points are on the frame. So now I'm going to be taking my tape measure and measuring off my length of this mounting strip that's going to be going on the wall. As I was saying, the holes on this thing are not mounted or installed from the center, and so I have to actually make a location mark. The next thing I'm going to be doing is putting my leveling strip on the wall and making sure that it's level. But don't worry, because many of these kits actually come with a little leveling bar in there to make things that much easier. That it just slips in and slips out. That's what it looks like right there. You can see it's got the liquid in there. Just slide it in there and you're good to go. You want to level it up to get it exactly where you want it, and then you're going to mark off your locations on your wall exactly where you want your holes to go. Once you've got everything located, you can mark your holes through the holes on the metal strip, and then you can take out your drill and begin to do your pilot holes. So that's what I'm doing next. If you've seen me do these type of videos in the past, then you know that I like to double and triple and quadruple check to make sure that I've got everything the way that I want it before I start drilling holes. So that's what I'm doing here, and just making sure that everything is correct on the wall and make sure that I'm not missing anything. And then I'm going to start popping my holes in here, my pilot holes in here with my drill. These are going to serve as a guide when I actually go ahead and install the screws that are going to hold this mounting strip to the wall. So I've got all of my holes drilled now, and we're just about ready to go ahead and move on to the next step. That looks pretty good. Everything is level. Now, once I have all of my holes drilled, then I begin to install my screws, and that's what you see me doing now. The screws that I'm using on this bracket do not require separate wall anchors, so I can just drive them directly through the drywall, and that is sufficient to hold the strip as well as the picture or mirror that I'm going to be hanging on it. So that saves a lot of time and effort. And as you can see, I'm just kind of driving these things in here and getting everything set up and ready to go. Let me show you what this looks like so you can know that it's level. There's my little mini level right there, so you can see that it's level, and there's my bullet level, and we can double check that work and you can see that it's level. Okay, now we're essentially going to do the same thing on the frame. So the first thing we're going to do is take our tape out and find the center line on the edge of the frame where we're going to be mounting the hardware. I'm going to go ahead and notate that here. Then the next thing that I'm going to do is take my metal strip and locate the center line on this, and then I'm going to mark the center point on that. Once I've got both center points lined up, then I will go ahead and begin making my mark and locations for the locations for my screws. I want to double and triple check everything because we're going to be screwing into a plastic frame, and we want to make sure that everything is exactly the way that we want it. So I've got everything lined up here, and I've got it level, and I've got everything spaced the way I want to. So let's start making these holes here. So I've got a small drill bit in here that I'm going to be using to make my pilot holes, and I'm gently drilling out my holes, making sure that I've got control over the drill the whole time, making sure that I don't plunge too deep, because as I said, this mirror has glass or several glass pieces around the frame of it, which makes it a little bit more tricky with the installation. So I've just about got everything the way that I want it now. Now for the moment of truth, it's time to start installing the screws into the frame. Now this is the part where you want to be very, very careful. I am using an electric impact driver. You can also use a screwdriver on this. I'm being very, very, very gentle with the way that I'm doing this. And if you're not familiar with using an impact driver, or you've got one that you're not as familiar with, I would suggest just using a screwdriver, because this is going to give you the best chance of not putting a hole or stripping out the hole in the frame. And I always use a regular screwdriver to hand tighten the last few turns to make sure that I don't strip it out. You can see that there's one more piece of hardware here that we missed. I don't have the ability to safely turn the mirror around in the room, so I'm just making sure that I step outside where I've got more space in the adjacent master bedroom, spin the mirror around and bring it back in. Just a safety precaution. Don't want to ding or scratch anything in this bathroom, so just want to go ahead and make sure that we take the proper precautions. So now that I've got it turned around, we're going to come back in with this mirror and go ahead and see what we've got here. And there we go. And that's what I was talking about, guys. You just hang it on the wall, and there it is. Voila. How do you like my work? Let me show you guys a different angle here. All right. There we go. Success. But not so fast. Remember that I told you that there's a failure in this video, and it is coming up very shortly. So we're going to go ahead and jump to the next mirror. Always stay hydrated and make sure that you clean off your work area as you're working, as a quick tip. So I'm going to go ahead and strip down all of the packing on this next mirror. This mirror, as a extremely important point I want to make, is that these mirrors are not the exact same size. They look almost identical, but the dimensions are different. And that is going to play a role in what happens next. So we're going to do the same thing that we were doing on the previous mirror, and making sure that we locate our center line on this wall. And then we're going to take our mounting strip and get everything staged up. And so we're going to speed things up on this one, and we're going to use our bullet level here to level everything up. Make sure that we've got everything centered here exactly the way that we want it. As I said, I like to double check and triple check. And then I'm going to take my drill here and just go ahead and pop all my pilot holes in here. Get everything exactly the way that I want it. You can see me there working it. As I said, sometimes, and for some folks, it may be easier to have a second set of hands here. For me, it's pretty much the same, or this is probably a little bit easier to just work this way. I'm just used to working this way. And so we're going to go ahead and make sure to get all of our holes in here. And now I'm actually mounting my screws in here. So as you can see, it's up there by itself. You can kind of see the light activating on the impact driver, how you know that it's working. Go ahead and pop in all these screws in here. This part is really easy, especially when you don't have to worry about installing wall anchors. Now let's grab that next mirror and get it ready to go. I'm gonna quickly pull off the hardware and everything off of it, and then get ready to go ahead and install it here. So now we're going to take our tape measure and measure out the top edge of this thing to find our center line first, just like we did on the last one. And then we're going to take our metal mounting strip and find the center location on that. And then we'll line those two things up accordingly and make sure we have the proper spacing on that from top to bottom and left to right. And then we'll begin drilling our pilot holes. So this is the most ticklish part of using a French cleat, in my opinion, and particularly when you're using a frame that has glass around the edges of it, because you're just never out of the woods until you've got everything exactly installed in this thing. And so now I'm drilling my pilot holes in here, making sure that I don't have any slippage on the metal strip on the top, because we want to make sure that everything is level here. So making sure that I've got all my holes in there lined up accordingly. And then the failure actually is about to occur here in just a few seconds. You're going to notice that as soon as I pull out my drill to install the first screw, we have a little bit of an issue. And here it comes in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There it goes. And there's my reaction. I have messed up. And so now I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do next to remedy the situation. As I hold the mirrors up, I can see that the frame around the edges are different sizes. There's the hole that I put the screw into that actually caused the glass to break. So that one's now junk. Just want to go ahead and double measure this one, and for comparison of these spaces, I did not provide the mirrors. And so now I'm going to make sure that I can't go back and get another mirror that's the exact same size as the one on the left, but it actually has to be this size because of the dimensions of the space over here. So this one is now junk.
As you can see right here, I cracked it trying to install the bracket on the back, but the profile on this mirror is thinner than the one that was previously installed over here on this side. So,
well, hopefully you guys found this video informative. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. See you guys on the next one.